everyone. Welcome to this episode of Claims Never Sleep. I'm your host, Meghan Henry, and today I'm joined by Laura. Welcome back, Laura.
Hi.
I didn't scare you away after the first one. You're like, I'll join you again, Meghan.
Absolutely. These are always a lot of fun. So
Yes.
sometimes I feel like I'm learning, and sometimes it's, I have a lot of input, and sometimes I really don't have any. So we'll see how it goes today.
Yeah. I always learn on every single one of these podcasts. I learn something new, and it's probably why I keep doing it, because I love to listen to everyone's stories, and just especially when I talk to people who are doing different things than me. I love soaking it all in.
Yes.
And so today is no different. Today we're joined by David Milton, and David is the CEO and founder of Telaclaims. And David has a fascinating story in that he's been in the claims industry for a lot of years, like over 30 years. But then at some point decided that he wanted to change how independent adjusting was working and make it, faster and more streamlined, and more efficient. And, we love to hear efficiency stories, especially when it involves insurance and insurance claims. And, I just love what he's done with it. So let's just bring him in and have him talk about it.
This is the Claims Never Sleep podcast, presented by Cruiser Mitchell, with your host, Meghan Henry.
Good afternoon, David. Welcome to this episode of Claims Never Sleep. I am so happy to have you today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Meghan. Thanks for the invitation. Pleasure to join you and Laura.
Yes. And so you and I talked, it was a while ago. And for our listeners out there, we're filming this right on the brink of the holidays coming up. It probably won't come out till January, but we were just chatting in our pre-podcast talk about all our last minute holiday stuff we have going on. Although, David, you disclosed that you don't have as much holiday pressure because your kids are older now. So lucky
They
you.
They are. Unfortunately, they're older, and my wife takes care of all of that back end stuff, and so I get the joy of showing up and just enjoying the holiday. Actually, I have none of the pressure. It's lovely.
Oh, love that for you.
I do cook. I do all the cooking. Good. So, I look forward to preparing the meal, but, outside of that, I'm a willing participant.
Well, it's funny. Just the other day, my daughter was saying to me too, she was like, it's just, I can't believe Christmas is so soon. It doesn't feel that way. And I was like, has there not been enough magic?
Right.
Did I not create the magic this year?
Right.
But mine are getting a little bit older too, so it's not as it's not the same as when they were like wee little, that there is a lot of like those smaller things, but that you still want them to have that feeling, so that I had a moment of panic that I'm failing them.
Well, I did get an email from them, and I can confirm that is their belief. So you need to step it up for the holidays. So
noted. Yes, Mom isn't doing enough. Mom's probably freaking out about it, as I freak out too often, like about ungratefulness and being thankful.
So we're actively bringing 2025 to a close, and a quiet weather year from the claims side of things.
Yes.
You guys have had a little weather. You're up in the Northeast, correct?
Yes. We had our first snowstorm this weekend. Wasn't bad. Lots of ice, though. A lot of ice. Yeah. But the first storm is always the best storm, because that's when everyone's just happy to see it. Everyone's excited. There's snow. There's sledding. It happened on a Sunday, so it didn't disrupt too much. They did get a delayed opening yesterday, which was welcome on their part. But the luster of the snow wears. The second storm is usually welcome. It's the third storm that is unwelcome, but
everyone's like, I'm over it already.
Yes.
Well, and we got some of that same cold snap down here in Florida. I'm based in Miami, and it got down into the 60s. It was horrible. It was so cold.
Yeah, you had to get that long sleeve out.
All of the scarves and the mittens and the heavy coats came out of the closet down here.
Yeah. I'm in Orlando, and we've been in the low 60s as well. So.
Yeah, I enjoy this time of year to be able to rub the noses and everyone's, just to get the joys of living in South Florida as they're enduring, 12-degree weather, and we're in 70 degrees and sunny. So
Yeah.
it's only 3 months of the year that I get to relish. So
yeah, honestly, I don't love it when it's Christmas and it's 80. So
Right,
that's like my
exactly.
least favorite.
Yeah, it's actually funny. Yesterday, like my daughter was on the phone with one of her friends, and I was in her room, and her friend's mom popped in the room, and I'm friendly with her, and she was like, we're thinking about going to Marco Island in August. Do you want to join us? And I'm like, I don't know if I want to go to Marco Island in August.
I don't know about that one.
Like, how much do you like mosquitoes? Because they're going to be there too.
I was kind of like, I would go to Marco Island in like April, but August seems like not the ideal time to travel down there.
True. January, February, Marco's beautiful in January and February.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. Well, David, you've been in claims for 30 years, right? So it's been a long time. You've seen a lot. But how did you start your journey into claims? Was this something were your parents in the insurance industry, or is this a path you paved on your own for yourself?
No, my dad actually was in claims for years and was working as a staff adjuster, and then he left that and became an independent adjuster. I just was done with college and sort of, didn't really have a direction. I grew up in the construction field. My family's all general contractors, and so he was out in California, and they had a real bad Santa Ana windstorm.
Mm-hmm.
I was living in Miami at the time. I'm originally from North Carolina, but I was in Miami at the time, and he said, "Look, get your adjuster's license, and maybe come on out." And so I did, and left Miami with $300 in my pocket and rent past due and an old truck, and said, I'm going to go out and see if I can get some claims as an adjuster. I didn't have any claims when I left. I made it to West Texas and got the call from one of the IA managers and says, I understand you're an adjuster. I don't think I could really spell adjuster at that time. I had a license, but I couldn't spell it. But I said, absolutely. I'm a great adjuster. Again, not having the ability to spell it.
You got to sell it.
And so he says, great. Well, we need you in this town. It was Mission Viejo, California. Mm-hmm. I said, well, I'm in West Texas heading that way now. Let me call you back. I'll give you a fax number. He goes, yeah, just give me a fax number. We'll send some claims over. So I called the hotel that I had yet to check into and said, hey, I'm coming in. I'm expecting a fax. Can I get your fax number? I've got a fax that I'm expecting in. And so they said, sure, here's our fax number. Again, I'm still dating myself. And by the way, the fax machine at this time was the newfangled machine, right? This is back in the early 90s. And so I'm driving through the night. I get there, 16, 18 hours later after having driven nonstop. And there's 150 losses waiting for me at the counter. And the people at the front desk are like, yeah, you said we were expecting a fax. We weren't expecting 150 of them.
Now you owe us 3 cents a page or 10 cents a page, whatever it costs at that time.
Exactly right. So I grabbed those and, quickly sort of figured it out. And, a day after arriving in California, I'm out, inspecting wood shake roofs in Southern California. And I absolutely fell in love with it on the spot. Interestingly enough, and this is such a vivid memory in my brain. My very, very first claim, I was in Costa Mesa, Laguna Niguel, area of, in Orange County, and I'm standing on a wood shake roof. It happened to be a little hop-on, 412 single-story wood shake roof, and I'm standing up there. It's 75 degrees, zero humidity, overlooking the Pacific Ocean, and I'm going to get paid a couple $100 for going out and doing this inspection. And I just thought I was robbing people. It was the greatest job in the world, to have the independence, to have the ability of going out and using, my construction knowledge, and then applying obviously the policy to it. It was I think I was 23 at the time. It was heaven on earth. And so fell in love with it then and have been sort of doing it unfortunately, I don't know if I can say it. I've been doing it ever since, happily, with a smile on my face.
I mean, there's ups and downs to every career, right? Every day is not a wonderful day.
There are, but that's my so I sort of started on a wish and a prayer, and got one guy to make an introduction for me, and I've just been busy and working ever since, and it's been a whirlwind. It's been a ride for 30 years.
I mean, that's incredible though. Like you went out with without any not without a plan, but without any work, and then it was kind of like you had this angel and to trust you, and you must have sold your knowledge of claims really well.
Yeah, I mean, again, right place, right time. I mean, I think so many adjusters, that's how they got started was, right place, right time, an event happened, and they just sort of fell into it. I will admittedly, take the same, I just sort of fell into it. But yeah, I mean, I didn't have even enough money for a one-way to get out to California, let alone two-way. So it was sort of all in. And by the way, I think it was about this time of year. I mean, I think it was the middle of December, back in 93 or 93, I guess, 93, 94, when I went out. So, I mean, it's I guess 32 years now, but, again, the feeling of driving across the country with no money in your pocket, a broken down truck and a wing and a prayer, it certainly was a leap of faith, to say the least, but it worked out.
Yeah. So you get out to California, you did you set up shop out there and kind of establish a place for yourself in California, or were you just there temporarily?
Well, I was there for 120 days or so 3 or 4 months, I guess 4 months out in California handling claims every day. And, at the end of that, again, imagine a 23-year-old kid that, I was so poor I couldn't pay attention before I went out there. And then now in 4 months, I make 6 figures in 4 months and just, nobody could tell me anything. I was the king of the world, as I came back to South Florida. So yeah, I was only there for a few months, and then I spent the next, I don't know, the next maybe decade or so doing just not quite decade, maybe 6 years, doing just sort of catastrophe work all over the country. So, anytime any news event, whether a news event or not, hailstorm, hurricane, windstorm, would, spent a few years doing catastrophe work, and then sort of moved on into being a large loss adjuster for a carrier for a number of years. So anytime anybody would have a loss in excess of 250, I would fly around and go out and handhold that customer, for days and days and days, just sort of, move in, as it were, to that property and handle large losses the way I still think they should be handled. Not just a sort of drive-by inspection from a guy that's got 30 tub diverter valve claims on his desk as well. But, I was a dedicated large loss adjuster for a number of years and really enjoyed that, helping people make good, intelligent decisions early on and indemnifying them, getting them back into their house. And obviously having the power of the checkbook of the carrier behind me was fun because, had $1 million worth of authority, cut checks on the spot. Put people back to where they were as close as we could, as effectively as we could. So did that for a number of years. And then I actually owned and ran my own carrier here in Florida for a number of years as the president of a Florida carrier. So I sort of transitioned more to the, I mean, I've always been on the carrier side, but, by owning a carrier, took all of my claims experience, went in and sort of took over a small Florida carrier, turned them around, got them profitable, did that for a number of years. And ultimately I'm obviously fast forwarding a bit, but, came back to the claim space, after leaving the carrier, and just frustrated by the lack of the adoption of technology by insurance carriers to use technology in what I thought was a meaningful way to ultimately fulfill the promise that every carrier makes to their homeowners.
Yeah.
And so I set about, a little over a decade ago or so, set about building my current company from a technology first basis. So, we're sort of two companies. We're a technology shop where we have our own proprietary software that is in the claims management space. And then we have a robust IA firm that works alongside and with that software to work with carriers to provide service to their policyholders. So that was the slow walk beginning, fast forwarding to today.
Well, there's a lot there. And I wanted to like backpedal a little bit though. When you were like, off on your own, and then made the transition over to working for a carrier, did you find any challenges with that? Before you were kind of like running your own ship, running your own show, and now, yes, you have like great financial backing from a carrier and you have this authority, but then there's also like more checks and balances and rules with that. How is that transition for you?
Yeah. So, I just vividly remember when my first day of going in, again, I was stepping into this carrier as its president, and just really, having been around some very large Midwestern carriers with, large footprints of branch claims offices and well-run machines, as they are, I was certainly looking forward to stepping into this carrier and assume that I was going to step in and find much of the same sort of construct and rigidity and processes that were in place. And so, I step into this Florida carrier and just find out that they are just winging it every day. Just here we go. It's another day. Let's see how we go. And so I was shocked at the lack of, I don't want to say rigidity, but just the lack of systems and processes and things that coming from the larger carriers, moving to a smaller, single state regional carrier, I assumed that they had the smaller version of that in place, and then come to find out that, not really so much. So that was shocking because they were still, an admitted carrier doing, tens of millions of dollars in premium business every single month. And so, so that was shocking to come in, but it was great just because of my ability to take what I knew worked in the street from a claim standpoint, imbue that in the carrier and really set those plans and processes in place. So it was exciting, but it was certainly not what I expected.
Yeah, and then now you're coming in, you probably have a whole team of people.
And we have a great team of talented claims guys, and we've cultivated some wonderful talent over the years. Guys that are smarter than me in claims, and I love it. They come to me for let me soundboard this with you, and a lot of times it's like, well, what do you think? Just because they're so smart at what they do, and each have their own niches. I've really gone pretty deep in the property side. When it comes to liability, I can spell it, but that's about it, right? And so, there's some guys in my shop that are just phenomenal liability guys, and they're just better than me. That's been nice to surround myself with a team of people that are incredibly talented, and we all know our lanes, I guess I would say.
Yeah.
It's nice, but it's nice to be able to go into those, small to mid-sized carriers. We're not chasing the top 5 carriers. We're not a fit for them. We're a boutique, IA firm, but the small, regional, multi-state, smaller guys are a perfect fit for us. We understand what they're trying to do. I'm able to talk to, the decision makers inside the carrier. It's not, I don't need to send an email to the, fourth removed deputy of claims to get to the third deputy to get to the second deputy to get to, so it's nice to be able to go in and have some immediate impact and obviously leverage, both our software, but our people. I mean, we always say on our side, platform, process, people, right? We built the platform, we have the process, and we have the people, and none of that works without any of those three on our side. So it's been a real joy being able to help out, many of our carrier partners and provide value. And ultimately, we preach this every day. It's about the policyholder. I mean, it's if everything we do is, to do what's right by the policyholder based on the policy, the underlying contract that they have, and we work hard to uphold that to the best extent we can every single day.
Yeah. So, but tell us a little bit more though about how Telaclaims was born, because you were saying you were frustrated. I believe you said something along the lines that you were frustrated at the time about how technology wasn't being utilized as much as you wanted it to be. So, like, give us some examples. Like, what were some of the struggles you were seeing, and then how did you come up with your solution to develop Telaclaims?
So I'm going to be slightly crass, but I don't know how else to explain it other than being
crass
slightly
as you
crass.
want.
Okay. I have found through the years that really good adjusters can be divided into two pretty specific buckets. Those buckets, here's the crass part, are boots and butts. And so I, as an example, and I think anybody who sees me will see that I'm not a butt guy.
Sound clip.
just don't have one. So I'm very much a boots guy. I'm out in the field, tromping around in the loss, making decisions on the site. I enjoy using my construction knowledge and my knowledge of the policy, my knowledge of the process to try to, connect with the customer directly and help them through the process. I'm a boots guy. I love being out in the field. I, to this day, still go out and handle appraisals. I'll go out and handle a claim every once in a while, just because I enjoy being out in the field. And so it drives my secretaries crazy when when I'm like, look, schedule me a few out in the field, I want to go. And they're like, oh my God, please don't, but so I enjoy being in the field. And part of the reason that they roll their eyes and try to dissuade me from going in the field is that they know that I'm really, really good at the field part, but I'm just crappy at the butt part. Like, I'm crappy at coming back, sitting down. I love preparing the estimate because that's the manifestation of what I've done in the field. But, to write a 47-page report about, well, I woke up on a Tuesday and I thought about having a ham sandwich for lunch and I decided on having a tuna sandwich. Just that minutia that the carriers not just expect, but need because of the one claim out of 100 that goes sideways, and they need to understand that you thought about a ham sandwich or whatever it was, that minutia of detail that needs to go into a report. I just was crappy at it. I knew that I was always doing the right thing in the field and making the right decisions and applying coverage correctly and finding a clear path on construction. But just to come back, sit down, write a lengthy report that articulates that and conveys that to the carrier, it was like pulling fingernails for me. I just absolutely hated it. And so really it started with the idea of like, look, I'm doing everything right on site anyway. Why? So first of all, let me back up a little bit. When I started this job 157 years ago, I was given triplicate estimating paper and a box of check stock by the carrier. Remember, I couldn't spell adjuster an hour and a half ago. But got some brain cells. And so they said, so I had some people around me, look, this is how you do it. Okay, great, no problem. And I never really, made a mistake, but I would go out, I would handwrite the estimate for the indemnity, total it up on a piece of paper, write a check for that amount, hand the customer a copy of the estimate that I just written on their dining room table and a copy of a draft and say, thank you very much. Thanks for filing your claim. Thanks for being a valued policyholder. Have a great day. And I would go in at night and I would staple my draft and my now 2 parts of the estimate. I'd put a service invoice on top of it. So I had 3 pieces of paper and I'd turn that into the carrier and I was done. So you have to understand that's where claims for me 150 years ago started with. The carriers were hiring intelligent people that understood their jobs to go out and do the right thing. And then, I call it the middle. And again, I'm going to offend half of the people I need to cater to as a business owner. But, I talk about, these middle management guys that would come in and go, well, yeah, but this claim went sideways. If we just had this one piece of information and they were great. Okay, sure. That'll take the adjusters 3 minutes. Hey, no problem. And then somebody else says, oh, but this one more. And hey, but this one more. And hey, but this one more. So then you end up with the adjustment of the house takes 30 minutes. The paperwork to turn in for the 30-minute adjustment is 4 hours.
Yeah.
And so that disproportionate. So ultimately, as an independent adjuster and everything else, I'm like, look, I'm stymied. My time is being consumed by writing reports, not really being an adjuster. And so anyway, so that's the backstory to it. Started again way back in 2012 or whatever, with this idea of, look, video has gotten so good that let me create a process by which we can videotape losses and not spend 100 hours, obviously being facetious, but 100 hours labeling 300 photos. Like, let me just put the scope in the video. And then anybody who has any questions, well, here's what I did, because you have I've videotaped the entire loss. It's there. If you need it, it's there. But my estimate is still accurate and based in fact. And, my estimate stands any scrutiny. And so we started with that. We started with the idea of transitioning the insurance industry from a photographic documentation standpoint to a video-based documentation standpoint. And we were very, very successful, especially in Florida, where we would have plaintiff files, ask for discovery, and we'd send them over our inspection reports that were all video-based. And we had a great number of plaintiff counsel, fire their client because they knew with our inspectors or our adjusters standing on the roof going, here I am on the roof. There's no wind damage up here whatsoever. Yeah. Here's this. I'm pulling this. Everything's sealed. There's no wind damage. They knew that would not play well in front of a jury because it's just a legitimate guy up doing a legitimate inspection versus I could take 642 pictures of that roof and plaintiff counsel would find a way of saying, well, but you see this corner. Is it possible that corner? I mean, they would interpret it for the jury as they saw fit, rather than here you have an honest guy on the roof just saying, I'm here on the roof. There's no wind damage.
Yeah.
And so we thought we were onto something. And so we continued to build that process out. And then, and again, I hope I'm not getting ahead of your question, but then the second piece that was so frustrating was the communication in and around a claim. And so, 80% of all complaints to the Department of Insurance are communication related to the adjuster or to the handling carrier. And so we have imbued all communication types into and attached to the claim file itself. And so if my adjusters make a phone call to the customer, it's in and recorded in the claim file. If they send them a text message or send them an email or do a video call with them, all of those pieces of communication are in and attached to the claim file. So we started this transition that we're still in the middle of, but of convincing carriers that I don't need to send you a 14-page report. I can just send you a printout, a report that shows here are all the things we actually did. And if it is that 1 in 100 claim where you need to dive deeper because it's gone sideways or become litigious, all of the information's there. Here's all the text messages. Here's all the phone calls. Just click play and listen to what we said. We don't have to spend 20 minutes writing a note about a 10-minute phone call. So we have communication as a part of our claims platform, and so that we're working to make the butts process easier. And so that's sort of the how. I mean, that's the why. That's the driving why, is how can we take what we actually do, streamline it, condense it, so that people are being more effective with their time. And ultimately, I believe that, someone who is really talented at being in the field, I don't need to put them behind their keyboard for 4 hours or 5 hours a day.
Right. Yeah. It's funny because this is, I feel like, a somewhat similar system or situation that comes up even in the like legal world, because you have folks who are like really good at researching it and writing, but may not be the strongest at a deposition or in court on their feet. And then you have other folks who may not be, the best at research and writing, but they're really good at peopling and marketing. And I think the challenges are when you try to stick people in roles that aren't natural to them. Not that you're going to get away with not doing those other things, but like expecting someone who really just wants to research and write to go market. Like that's just like, and penalizing them for it, and it's just like, that's not their talent. So utilize their talents, and their talents will be utilized well. And it sounds like you identified too in your role, like, okay, I'm really good at this. I'm really bad at sitting down and writing a report about it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And you kind of worked on a workaround, being like, hey, can our boots people be butts people, but in their boots on the field, and eliminate the sitting down and typing aspect that everyone probably dragged their feet on and didn't do as quickly because they didn't want to do it.
Yeah, and so they take something that's an amazing work product, right? We get the claim on a Monday. We're out there Monday afternoon. We've hit every SLA. We're knocking it out of the park. We finished the scope of what needs to be done. And what we do is, again, that guy in the field, we go, look, you stay in the field. He sends his video inspection back into an estimator who's equally qualified at just writing estimates. That guy bangs an estimate out Monday afternoon. The estimate's done. Coverage is confirmed. The report is written. And so in 24 hours, we've turned that claim around to resolve it. And, but if I waited for the guy to get in out of the field, and it's, 7:00 and he's dealt with traffic for the last 3 hours, and, now he's got to sit down and label photos and write an estimate and write a report. It's going to be Wednesday or Thursday, best case scenario, for me to get that data. So that's handcuffing the insured from moving forward until we get that done. And it's no fault of the guy that was in the field. That's just the human nature of,
right.
So anyway, so yes, ma'am, that's what we've worked to do is, take technology and AI. Oh my gosh, the buzzword. Take technology, take AI, and strategically put it in the processes that make the most sense and make the process just smoother, less resistance, and streamlined.
I gotta tell you, the idea of video rather than just photos is like just great. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten a claims file and it just comes with photos, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm looking at. And then now I have to go out to the property because now I have to see it with my own eyes,
right.
Take my own stupid photos because I don't know what I'm looking at when I'm looking at their photos, and I need to see it with nothing is ever really labeled right. And even if it is, it still doesn't make sense until I get out there.
Well, and so we don't, and I appreciate that, Laura. We don't label photos. Oh my gosh! Oh, everybody, clutch your pearls. We don't label photos. Again, obviously, if the carrier is just unwilling to move on that, we will. But by our standard, best in class, if somebody comes to us and goes, you guys go be great at what you do, they're going to get a file back that's not labeled. Now, what we do have is, we've got a mobile application, so our guys in the field are using our mobile app, and they're truncating their inspection into every single section. So when they go to inspect the front elevation of the house, they're doing it from within the front elevation portion on the app. And so they take the video of the front elevation, they take the pictures of the front elevation, and in the video they go, all right, I'm here on the front elevation, I see some soffits, some fascias, and this damage. Okay, thanks, great, we're moving on. And then they do right, rear, left, and then all the interior. I'm here in the dining room. And so when you get the report, you'll know where they are. And if you're really curious about what's going on in the dining room, well, take 12 seconds or 15 or 18 and watch the video that explains everything that the person on the ground is seeing in the dining room.
Yeah.
And so, so not only do we completely agree from the photos standpoint, no, we still take photos. Don't get me wrong. Photos are important.
The video shows what the photos are showing so that you can put it in perspective.
But the video contextualizes.
Yeah.
And so we think that's what's missing off of almost every claim file is the contextualization of those photos. And we think that a properly narrated video does, a 50 times better job than even if I sat down and wrote a 4-paragraph description of what that photograph is, because that's still, obviously it's subjective, but it can still be parsed and ripped apart and interpreted. And listen, I mean, as defense counsel, you guys have seen, the IA or the files, I won't say IA, but the adjuster files that come back in where clearly the guy wrote one, halfway decent description of what he's looking at. And then he figured out on his keyboard, he can Control-C, Control-V, and that same description is used for the next 42 pictures.
Yes. Yeah.
So that he can get that check mark under the audit of were the photographs labeled? Well, yes. But good luck in using that in court where the description says, no damage to the ceiling, and you've got a picture of a tile floor.
So this is why the boots shouldn't be butts.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm going to convert both of you.
But I also see it's advantageous to expert retention as well. When you have the scene videos taken closer to the time of loss too, that I think is very helpful for if it's in litigation for an expert to evaluate, because they'll have a better idea of the lay of the land when this actually happened and what everything looked like at that point. Because over time, we all know things change. They do, and so we have, as a part of our process, I feel like I'm selling, so forgive me. I'm just you're not. You're advocating.
But as a part of our process, we have a link that would go out to you. So if you had a laundry room hose break in your laundry room, sorry. If you got a laundry room break in your bathroom,
that'd be a problem.
It might be a problem. But no, if you had a laundry room break and you've got water in your house, we're able to send you a text message link, just a link on your phone that you click on at the moment you're filing the claim. So from FNOL, we send you a link, and I have one of my, 25-year adjusters who's been to 4,700 times of houses that have had water from a laundry room hose break. And he's now using your phone and your video and saying, hey, listen, Laura, walk me through the house, show me what you're looking at. And so from the moment you're filing FNOL, I'm not just going, oh, well, she says water, so let me send out a water mitt guy and we'll wait a couple days and see what that guy says. I, as the desk adjuster on that claim, am making intelligent decisions right now. do you need a plumber? Has the water stopped? Do you know how to stop the
You know
water?
how
I
to
can
turn the
guide
water
you.
off.
I can guide you through turning the water off if you don't know how. Like, we can be of assistance because of just years of doing it. And we can do that because of video. In this case, video, not just of the inspector in the field, but the video of the homeowner. So we're getting eyes on the claim at the moment of FNOL, setting a better reserve, bringing the right experts, building the right team around the claim, and setting a path forward for success for that claim, because we now understand here's everything that we need to know.
Yeah. And have you found in your experience, though, since approaching things from this way, you're seeing matters resolve or close faster and more efficiently?
So absolutely. So our tagline is from 30 days to 30 minutes. That's a tagline of our company.
I like it.
Of our company, only because the average claim cycle time now is 42 days. 42 days to 42 minutes didn't have quite the same ring to it. So, so yes, there is a direct. Well, first of all, you have to accept the axiom of claims do not get better with age. Period. Like, period.
Yeah.
Period. Not well. No, just period. Claims don't get better with age. They are not like a fine wine. So, what processes, what tools can we bring to bear to ultimately get money in the insured's hands as quickly as possible? So in that laundry room example, Laura, that sorry, you're standing in ankle deep water in my example, I have the ability of dispatching a watermet guy based on where he or she is in the real world. So think Uber. So I'm able to send out a watermet guy that's around the corner, have them extracting water from your house. We walk through and agree on a scope, and I'm concurrently writing the estimate for the rebuild, and you have those monies deposited in your account in a half an hour after filing your claim.
Amazing.
I mean, what else is there?
Yeah, the fact that you get somebody out there so quickly to, for the water mitigation has to save so much money, because if the water's sitting there, that's when the problems start.
And we walk the loss with our preferred vendor, our watermet guy. We're preparing the estimate for the watermet guy for the dry down that they're going to do. You know why? You know what watermet guys really are? They're boots people.
Well, I was going to say they have big fans. It's just a big fan, right? That's pretty much.
But they're boots people.
Yes.
And so when we talk to all of our vendors, our watermet guys, and go, hey, listen, we don't need you to send out a project manager to write the estimate. And, look, we're going to walk through, okay, take out this baseboard, cut this drywall, take out this insulation, dry this down. We're agreeing with the guys that are there what needs to be done to dry your home down, Laura. And at the end of it, because I even know what I've agreed to take out, I know what I need to put back. And so I'm simultaneously writing the dry down estimate. So, XYZ watermet company, at the end of it, I go, okay, we're going to send you a check for, $4,212. That's what my estimate is. It's got, 3 air movers and 2 dehues and, all the things that are required for the property to dry down. Just make sure you go out and monitor it every day. And by the way, we assume that it was going to take 3 days to dry down. If it's 4, call me back. We'll add a day. This is not a problem. But if you don't call me back, expect the check is in the mail.
Right.
And so the watermet people are spending time doing, shockingly, what watermet people are supposed to be doing, which is mitigating water.
Yeah.
And so rather than write a report, send it to the carrier, have the carrier adjuster 6 weeks later, because they've been sort of trained or conditioned to do so, take that estimate from the watermet guy and so, well, you've charged $6,000 here, how about $4,500? So adjusters are trying to adjust to show value. And so watermet companies go, well, I know they're going to try to chop my estimate down. So instead of sending a $4,500 estimate in, I'll send a $6,000 estimate in so that they can reduce it down to $4,500. And I get what I'm supposed to get, and they get to feel like they did their job. All of this game is unnecessary if you just have early and often communication with the right team of people around every single claim.
Yeah.
And without getting off my final plug, it won't be my final plug, but our technology is what affords the carrier or us or anybody else to do that, because you can't do it the legacy model and get those results.
Yeah. But it sounds like, though, this model probably works best, though, with exactly the carriers that you're working with. Like the smaller to mid carriers, that there might not be as much red tape, and you're kind of just run to the races and moving quickly. Not to say those other ones aren't, but I feel like there's a little more procedures involved.
There are, there are people in the larger organizations who have aspired to the role of middle management and are very protective of that role. Mm-hmm. Was that politically said well enough?
I think so. But I love what you're saying there, that as I had to go through this water damage process with my mom last year when she had water damage in one of the hurricanes, and it was so slow and so tedious. And if she had to do it on her own, she would be, her place probably still have mold growing. You know, she needed me to come in and start talking to the places, but the process was so aggravating because it just moved at molasses speed. Can
I tell you our biggest challenge? Our biggest challenge, and obviously there's a punchline here, but our biggest challenge is we will handle Laura's, laundry room claim or tub diverter valve claim or whatever it is, and we'll put money in her account in a half an hour, and we'll be like, "Hey, Laura, wasn't that amazing? Didn't that process? Didn't that just blow your socks off?" And someone who's outside of the industry goes, "Well, yeah, it kind of went the way I expected it to go." And you're like, "Oh."
Because they've never had an experience before. That might be their only experience ever.
That's the only claim experience they've ever had. And it went kind of as they would have imagined the process to go. And so our biggest challenge is getting customers, excited about, man, we just put money in your account and closed your claim in a half an hour, because they don't know that it shouldn't be that. It's only the insurance industry. It's only those of us that have been around for 150 years have I'll use the word accepted or resigned to, well, this is going to be a 60-day process. So, settle in and get ready, and, we're working for you, but it's going to take 60 days for us to get this resolved. We're the ones that have accepted that as the standard or the norm. Mm-hmm. But customers are like, "Yeah, I had a claim. I'm looking for money." We work so hard to get adjusters or inspectors or vendors out to loss locations so quickly after events. And I'm not talking about more sort of a cat scenario, a hurricane scenario, or even a daily claim. I mean, it's not uncommon for there to be a daily claim, and the guy that I've got in that area, again, I'm talking from the staff side, not our people, of course. We're always available, but the claim comes in at Tuesday at 2:00, and my Wednesday's already booked, and oh man, I'm in a different area on Thursday, so it's going to be Friday before I can get out to your house. I mean, a 3-day turnaround time to get out to your house is not sort of unreasonable, right? Just based on where people are, and so, but what we forget as insurance people is that the homeowners feel absolutely handcuffed or incapacitated to do anything, because they don't want to touch anything until the insurance industry comes out and sees exactly how things were. I literally am on the phone sometimes begging people, look, pick up, clean up, put a tarp on your roof. No. We want to leave it until you guys see it. Take a picture. Like, people feel like our job is to stop and not do anything until the insurance company or one of the representatives comes out. Then at least I can start picking up or start returning my home to its pre-loss condition. So they feel completely paralyzed until we lay eyes on it. That's an unfortunate, but that's what society has interpreted as, don't do anything, you're gonna spoil the scene or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so
crime
people,
scene.
yeah. And so people literally feel like they're, in what is it? The crime scene, David Caruso and is disturbing the crime scene after an event. If we use technology, we can take that burden off of them to feel like, okay, we've now seen it, mop the water up, clean the water up.
It's so funny that we're still like this, even though we have these, tiny computers that are in our pockets all day long. Take a video, and then, if you have a shop vac, which I do, I'd be sucking the water out and trying to dry it the best I could, because I don't want there to be, worse problems in the future. I don't want to wait however long it's going to take so I can do laundry again. I don't want to, end up with a mold issue, which is going to impact me worse because I happen to be allergic to mold. So it's going to just snowball. And I'm one of those people, I would just be like, all right, what do I need to do so that I can start getting back to normal faster? I don't want to wait, 30 days. I'd rather get it done now.
Or even 3 days to get a guy out. I mean, I'm just saying, and I'm not going to
wash around in water until then.
Yeah. What am I just here?
Yeah.
So anyway, so we spend a lot of our time talking about, responsiveness at MFNOL, getting eyes on the claim, understanding the claim, setting the reserve better. And in our industry, as everyone has talked about forever, we are losing talent faster than you can imagine. And so the guys that have been out in the field for 25 years, schlepping around inside all of those laundry room claims or, whatever it may be, those are the guys that we're able to leverage on our side to, sit at home in front of their computer and say, hey, I'm here for you. I've been there for 25 years. Let me guide you through that process. And so we have brought in just a wealth of knowledge of guys that are retired because they don't want to do it anymore, out schlepping or out in the field, but they're happy to sit at home and provide their years of expertise in helping indemnify and return people to their pre-loss condition. So we've seen a huge resurgence of that. These guys with just a wealth of knowledge that were almost pushed out of the workforce because, the requirements of today's file are so computer laden, so computer specific that they're like, it's just not fun anymore. But, put them behind a computer and say, look, your job is to look at the damages, write an estimate, click this one button, the file goes into the carrier. Do you want to do that? They're like, hell yeah, that's fun. That's the way sort of adjusting used to be. When I was out there with an estimate with triplicate and we're as close as we can get to that today.
Well, I love hearing what you're doing because, and I hope, I kind of hope others are doing the same, not to take any business away from you at all, but I hope this is the model that we're going to see moving forward because it is more efficient and it does make a better claims experience for the person experiencing the loss. But one thing I wanted to touch on, because we touched on it pre-recording, and I can't have two Florida folks on without talking about the Florida reform, but how, and I'm especially happy Laura is joining us because she can speak to a lot of it as well, but for us who aren't in Florida, but we are in other states that we could possibly see something similar. How has it changed there? Or I should back up. What was happening in Florida and how have we progressed?
Pure hell. We were in insurance hell for some reason, unbeknownst to us. I'll give a quick anecdotal story, and this is very true. And there was one notorious firm here that Laura would obviously know, but they're thankfully out of business. But, this firm, so what they would do is, hire PAs or, really anybody with a pulse to go around and find anything that even closely resembled a claim. And so then what the law firm would do is send out, a water mitigation guy, a mold, air quality, indoor quality, a plumber, they'd send out 6 companies, a pack out company and a babysitting consulting company. It was crazy, the companies that they would come up with, and they would send them out. And so what would happen is that this particular law firm would actually go to court, and the first notice that the insurance company had that there was a claim at the property were the 6 individual lawsuits that were filed on behalf of the babysitting consultant and the indoor air quality specialist and the let me move your couch 12 feet specialist. So they would hire all of these companies that would have all of these just, I don't know if you know or not, but babysitting consultants are like $30,000 to $40,000 a day. It's just crazy. Obviously, I'm joking, and so they would go to court, and literally the first time the insurance company would know about these losses were when this law firm would file 6 individual lawsuits on behalf of this one customer who was oblivious to the process.
What? The
carrier had no clue that the claim even existed. And so now they're being presented via the court system, $300,000 worth of invoices for work incurred. And we call them up and say, okay, well, you got a water mint bill for, and again, this many times was a claim that was, weeks and weeks and weeks and months and months and months in the making, water damage under a kitchen sink that had been leaking for 3 years, right? We were not afforded any opportunity for investigation. The kitchen sink is gone. We had to take it out because there was potential mold growth, and our mold expert said so. I'm being slightly hyperbolic, but Laura will tell you not really. This is exactly what happened. And so we were then forced to, deal with, okay, here's my $30,000 water mitigation bill. Okay, great. Will you take 20? No. Okay, because of the one-way attorney's fees, as long as they got $1, they drug it out for 3 years purposefully, so that I've heard of disputes over $100 that end up with $100,000 attorney bill, plaintiff side, and the dispute was $100.
Oh yeah.
And so that's why I say, and Laura, please feel free to add or expound upon that, but that's why I say we were living in legal hell. Yeah. And so fortunately, the reforms just said, yeah, no more of that ridiculousness. And so they put frameworks around that. They've stopped the one-way attorney's fees. It's set up so that at least the insurance company must be put on notice before a lawsuit is filed. It's tried to set some guardrails in place. And, with the one-way attorney's fees gone, now the plaintiff attorneys are being forced to pursue much more legitimate claims.
Yeah.
And so come to find out, claim volume is down 80% across
Shocking.
Florida.
Yeah.
Just overnight, 80% reduction in claim count. So it's been a great thing for the industry. I'm a claims guy, so it's been crappy for me, but it's great for the industry.
Well, although now there's still lots of claims. They're just more legitimate.
It's great. It's great for us. Because ultimately I'm a homeowner too, right? I'm a Floridian. I'm a homeowner. I pay insurance. Insurance was just getting so unreasonably expensive because of the bad actors. These carriers were, had contingent liability clauses that would make Freddy Krueger run for the hills because they were just so ugly. They had to, insurance companies have got to pay claims. What do they do to raise the money to pay the claims, they've got to raise rates.
Yeah.
And so now we're seeing insurance carriers in Florida filing for a rate reduction. It's great to see the industry, for the health of the industry. Those legislative reforms have been just amazing. And I would caution to any and all lawmakers in other states, beware of what we have endured, because the fun is coming to a state near you.
Yes. Yes. And use Florida as your guidepost to see what could be coming. But since the changes, though, it sounds like there have been vast improvements, though, on the claims front.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, it's certainly the volume is down. Listen, Florida is still rife with a number of challenges, but they're manageable and they're known. I mean, insurance companies, the only thing that we dislike, we being putting myself in the plurality of insurance companies, certainty is fine. Uncertainty is what we can't handle. And so I think we have returned to a world of, there is some ugliness, but it is known and quantifiable ugliness that we can handle just because it's known.
Yeah.
You're not getting less claims. Are you just getting more reasonable claims?
No, we're getting significantly less claims.
Even less. Okay.
Significant. I mean, because again, our carrier partners, they shift a percentage of claims to us that overflow their staff adjusters or whatever it may be, and claims largely in 2025 have all been, just based on the sheer volume of claims, have been well within the ability of the carriers to manage them themselves, because they've dropped off by a factor of 80%. And so they're just simply less claims. And yes, to your point, the ones that are happening are the legitimate claims. I mean, they are claims that should be filed, and bad things still happen, right? Water hoses break, and winds blow. So the claims that are being filed are now absolutely much more what you would expect. I'm trying to find a way to make sure to stay out of trouble. Claims that you would expect to find on a day-to-day basis, and returning back to the sort of traditional frequency that you would expect from an insurance book of business.
Yeah.
So instead of getting a under sink leak that has been going on for 3 years, and now we need to replace everything in the whole kitchen. I used to see claims where people were like, well, now I need to replace the cabinets because these cabinets under the sink are all damaged from the water, but they don't make the cabinet in my kitchen anymore. So I want, and they all need to match. And I would see that all the time. And I was just like, there's nothing that matches even close. I mean, and I get it, but at the same time, I don't.
So I mean, in respect to that specific, I mean, again, we're just talking about, claims that never sleep, right? Or claims that never go away. There is, the Florida matching statute is quite clear. And so, while one could argue, a box of cabinets is a box of cabinets, and anybody can make them match at any time. But if they're stained or this or that, I mean, it is difficult, even with refacing or redoing the drawers. It is difficult to have uppers and lowers match all the time. Now, there are some exceptions, right? But even if you have a white melamine cabinet with a colonial shaker door, those were installed 20 years ago, and then now we put in a new white melamine cabinet with a white shaker door. It's bright white, and the ones above, just because of sunlight, are now no longer bright white. Have we indemnified the insured, right? I mean, they had cabinets that matched before, and now they don't. So, I mean, there's a reasonable argument to be made. I agree with you. There's some sort of reasonableness test that could be applied here, that, no one walking into your home is going to be like, oh my gosh, you've got two different sets of cabinets, right? Nobody's going to see that.
Right.
But the insurance carriers, in trying to combat the legislation, and this is really my fear, in trying to combat that legislation, have put matching statute language or limits, sub-limits into the policies now that just say, look, in your scenario, Laura, we're going to pay for the physical cabinet that's damaged under the coverage A dwelling, but then we're going to pay for all of the other cabinets that need to get done because of matching. We're going to pay that under the sub-limit of matching, and we're going to apply a 1% of coverage A limit to that. So we're only going to pay you, you're insured for $500,000. We're only going to pay you $5,000 for all of that matching. Now, we'll be kind and absorb your deductible. But if the cabinet that's damaged is $2,000 and, replacing your entire kitchen is $40,000, but in this scenario, you'll only get $7,000 because of $2,000 for the physical damage and $5,000 because of the 1% matching cap. That provision was put in because, all public adjusters are ever trying to do is, there's this one little board is lifted in this laminate floor right here by the edge of the toilet. It's, there's one little buckle, and the laminate floors run throughout the whole house, and they don't make that laminate floor anymore. The same with tile floors. So they were abusing what we would consider, indemnification.
Right.
And so insurance carriers went to the extreme of putting this 1% matching clause in. My fear is that given the legislative reform and the defensiveness that insurance companies, they took a defensive posture because of getting beat about the head and shoulders with all these frivolous lawsuits, that they have not adopted a much more consumer-friendly position in light of recent lawsuit. And my fear is that the pendulum that was so far to the, let's call it plaintiff bar, so far plaintiff related, has swung so far to pro carrier that many carriers are not being aggressive and looking for coverage when coverage really does exist.
Yeah.
Needs to be somewhere in the middle.
It's a pendulum. And so, if we swing it too far to one way, when it comes back, it's going to come back ferociously. And so that's my fear. But that's my sage advice, being that I'm just simply old, is just don't take the legitimate reforms that had to get done, and don't be abusive with those in your application of the policy.
Yeah. I think those are very true and wise words.
Again, I know I'm old. You don't have to say wise.
Well, David, I probably could listen to chat forever. You make me laugh. And I love, I just love how you describe things and how you talk about things, but we are pretty much out of time. But I didn't want to let you go without asking you this, knowing what you know now and from your experience in the industry, what advice would you give your younger self?
Listen, I have been just blessed. I love where I'm at and love what I'm doing. All of my prior decisions have led us to this point. I would, and this is really more of a business answer than an insurance answer, so forgive me. But because I enjoyed being Boots for so long, I don't think I did, as an industry, a good enough job in connecting with others in my space, because I was so focused on, I've got Laura's, laundry room claim to deal with. I'm just going to really be focused on handling her claim. And I don't really care about the social cocktail hour gathering of, Adjusters Are Us or whoever it may be, or, this conference or that conference, and that has really, as a business owner, and, now a guy that's been around for 3 decades, I think I would have spent a little more time in networking and building out a larger network of people, both inside carriers and independents and plaintiff guys, because I think at the end of the day, people want to do business and work with people they know and have known and like. So that would be the only advice. And this is actually the opposite of the advice that I gave many independents for many years as I was training them in the cat space, because we're stuck in a hotel in the middle of Kansas from a hailstorm, and it's the adjusters take over the whole hotel, and so I'd be training younger adjusters, and invariably every night at 8:00 or 9:00 the bar gets a little ruckus, and it's the adjusters that have all been out on roofs all day, and they're having a good time. And so I would caution people, look, just focus on your job. All the other noise will sort of go away. And if you get caught up in the network of adjusters, it'll detract you from your work. And so I would advise people to just stay focused on the work. I think that was an error in hindsight of a career, that things, the service that you're doing here is so important because it's exposing, yourself and others to other people. I think what you're doing is a great service. So that would be my parting sort of get out there, get involved in your community, to the extent, your insurance community, to the extent that you can.
Yeah. Have fun, but not too much fun.
Not too much is a relative, that's subjective and relative. So sure, absolutely.
But I see where you were going with that too, though, because I could see how that aspect could get out of hand. It might prevent them from doing their job the next morning. So you have to be a responsible professional adult.
Yeah, and not even over serving. Just the you get at the bar and this adjuster, well, this one didn't give me this, and listen, you get any 5 adjusters in a room together, they're going to tell 1,000 war stories, and things are going to be said, and at the end of the day, somebody's going to talk bad about this guy or that guy. And just like I don't need that. I just want to do my job, and so that was really
get it. Yeah.
It was not the over serving. It was you're going to get sort of lumped in with the people that are going to create problems, and you just want to keep your nose clean and do your job. But yeah, I would definitely say that I missed the boat on that, and keep learning all the time. Just associate and keep learning.
Well, I think that's great advice. So, David, it was an absolute pleasure having you on.
This has been fun.
Yes. And so for our listeners out there, let them know where they can find you, because we have tons of insurance folks who listen to this podcast. So I think your services would be could be needed by some of them. So
well, thank you. As I said earlier, you can find me at the wer. No, I'm just So we are telaclaims.com. That's TELA. We couldn't get TELE, but Telaclaims, TELA claims.com, or mergeconnects.com. I'm on LinkedIn, or around LinkedIn. So please feel free to reach out there. I'd love to meet everybody. Again, we've got a great roster of people, always looking for great new people to work with. And so, if you're looking to mix it up and do a little something different as an IA, please feel free to reach out. And obviously we're always looking for new carrier partners that are looking to try to do things a little bit different, but we certainly color within the lines, but only just. So yeah, feel free to reach out. That'd be great. And keep up this great work. I mean, I really can't say enough that, you guys are doing God's work, because, so many podcasts are, they're gotchas, or they're trying to bring people on. I mean, I don't know. I don't do a lot of these, because again, remember, I'm the curmudgeon, up in his room working at night, but but you guys have built a great brand and a great following, and keep doing the good work of spreading the gospel. Insurance is fun.
You. It is. That's what we kind of talk about on here a lot too. Getting the younger generation interested in insurance and how good of a career it is.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's recession proof.
Yes. We've been preaching it.
I thought your Claims Never Sleep was an homage to being at the bar lately today. No?
It does happen. It does happen at any conference. Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, for everyone tuning in, we appreciate you tuning in. Of course, if you like what you hear, please like and subscribe to Claims Never Sleep. You can find us on your favorite streaming platform as well as YouTube. And thanks for tuning in.
This is the Claims Never Sleep podcast, presented by Cruiser Mitchell, with your host, Meghan Henry.